The bar throbbed with noise that night, a place where smoke lingered beneath low bulbs, where laughter tangled with curses, and the clatter of glasses swallowed softer voices. It was a den of shadows and racket, filled with hard men who wore leather and ink like armor, and where fragile hearts working behind the counter were too easily forgotten. Among them was Emily, a quiet waitress who moved with a humility and grace most overlooked. She wasn't someone who sought attention, dressed in plain jeans and a crisp white shirt, her hair pinned back, her steps quick, precise. Yet beneath her calm face and faint smile, she carried a storm locked deep inside, one she had never spoken of, one few could possibly imagine. That night, when a group of bikers pushed their way in, the air shifted. Their laughter was too sharp, their shoves too rough, their presence like predators circling smaller prey. Emily kept her eyes lowered, clinging to her work. But fate has its way of trapping the quiet ones. One of them, tall and wide, with tattoos crawling over his skin and a cruel grin cut across his face, grew restless. He mocked her, hurled insults, tried to break her calm, and when she didn't yield, his temper snapped. Before the entire room, he seized her shirt and tore it wide with a sneer. Gasps rose, laughter followed, then everything changed. What they expected was weakness, shame, a broken mask. What they saw instead stilled the air. Across her chest, bold and unshaken, gleamed the emblem of the United States Marine Corps. It wasn't mere ink, it was sacrifice, a story etched in pain and courage. The bar went silent. Even the biker who had ripped her shirt froze, his hand shaking, his smirk fading. In that instant, all realized Emily wasn't just a waitress. She was a Marine. If you believe in hidden strength, in kindness, in second chances, be sure to like, comment, share, and see. Your support keeps these stories alive. Emily stood firm, breath steady, gaze unwavering. The tattoo wasn't for show, nor meant to draw admiration. It was part of her, a memory branded on her skin for reasons far deeper than pride. She had enlisted young, not chasing glory, but running from poverty and despair that had marked her childhood. Her battles had begun long before the Corps, but the Marines had tempered her in fire. She had seen things no man in that bar could ever understand. Friends lost in combat, nights gripped by fear, days when survival was the only prayer. Returning home, she bore the weight in silence, working small jobs, fading into the background, praying no one would ever ask about the ink that carried more sorrow than triumph. But that night, the truth was revealed. And as the silence stretched, the gravity of her hidden life bore down on every man watching. The biker who tore her shirt stumbled back, shaken, his false pride collapsing under the weight of her story unspoken. He had wanted to humiliate her, but what he exposed was honor, and he knew instantly he was not worthy to stand beside her shadow. The men behind him shifted uneasily, some dropping their eyes, others squirming with shame for having laughed. The truth had sliced through the noise, stilling even the boldest drunk. But Emily didn't boast. She didn't speak. She simply straightened her torn shirt, eyes ahead, and returned to her work as though nothing had changed. That quiet dignity was stronger than any words. It was then the regulars began to see her differently. To them, she was no longer just the quiet woman serving drinks. She was a warrior who carried scars deeper than leather and steel, a fighter who deserved respect, not pity. In the days that followed that night, the tale began to ripple through the town. Whispers grew into chatter, and suddenly, people saw Emily differently. Patrons who once brushed past her now spoke her name with warmth. Strangers offered thanks for her service, though she never sought recognition. Slowly, those who had once dismissed her realized they had overlooked the quiet strength she had carried all along. What no one understood, however, was the unseen struggle she still faced. Her years in uniform had left scars invisible to the eye, nights haunted by memories, sleep broken by shadows, and a loneliness that rooted itself deep inside her soul. The bar was more than wages. It was her refuge, her way of keeping her thoughts from slipping into darker corners. Even while burdened by her own pain, she poured kindness into others, trading shifts so younger workers could rest, listening to customers spill their troubles, sliding extra food to a drifter who appeared at the door from time to time. Her own hurt never stopped her from easing another's. The biker never set foot in that bar again. Perhaps guilt kept him away, or perhaps fear. But those who witnessed that night carried the memory with them. In a single moment, Emily had taught them that real strength isn't noise or aggression. It is steady, calm, and enduring. It does not boast. It reveals itself only when tested. Years later, when the bar closed and stories blurred into half-remembered tales, Emily's name still lingered. To some, she was the waitress with the Marine's mark on her chest. To others, she was the woman who taught them respect for what lies unseen. But to those who truly knew her, she embodied the truth that every overlooked soul carries a story, and some stories carry the power to change us. If her story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps these lessons endure. Before you leave, we have a small request. Drop a comment below and tell us what part of Emily's journey resonated with you most. Your words may be the inspiration someone else needs today. Often, the strongest people are not the ones who shout loudest or strike hardest, but the ones who fight their battles in silence and still manage to stand tall. Emily's story is a reminder that behind every quiet face lies a history we may never fully grasp. The world is quick to judge, quick to laugh, and quick to dismiss those who seem ordinary. Yet the most extraordinary among us often walk unnoticed, carrying strength not as a weapon, but as a shield to protect others. That night in the bar was more than a clash. It was a reflection of who we are as a society. It showed how easily courage goes unseen, how quickly we forget the sacrifices borne quietly by those who have worn the uniform. Emily never wanted applause. She never sought attention or demanded recognition. All she wished for was a life of quiet work, a little peace amid the chaos. Yet when pressed into the spotlight, she revealed a strength that silenced cruelty, commanded respect, and proved that dignity can never be stripped away. Her story is not confined to one night in one bar. It represents all the hidden heroes who surround us daily. The single mothers working 2 jobs, the veterans living with invisible wounds, the ordinary souls who fight silent battles with extraordinary bravery. They may never ask for honor, but they deserve it nonetheless. So the next time you pass someone who seems tired, quiet, or ordinary, think of Emily. Remember that behind the stillness may rest a story of resilience powerful enough to move the world.